Hello, welcome to this video. You will need to get your phone to prepare the stopwatch because we'll be using the stopwatch. We'll be trying out the BOLT. So BOLT is an acronym for body oxygen level test, and it is a measure of CO2 tolerance. So it might seem a bit misleading. Why is it called an oxygen test? Why is it named after oxygen rather than carbon dioxide? However, the name actually comes from the fact that CO2 directly influences oxygen availability in the body. And that is due to the Bohr effect, which we spoke about earlier, if you remember that. And this exercise is to test your breath hold time. So in a moment, we're going to be taking an inhale and exhale, both in and out through the nose, and then pinching your nose, and you're going to hold your breath. When you notice your first stronger urge to breathe, you release the nose and resume breathing. So this isn't a hold your breath until you feel you might pass out situation, but it's also not just resuming natural breathing when you kind of feel like it. So the trick is that when you do inhale again, following the breath hold, you can actually take a natural and easy breath without feeling like you're gasping for air or like you need to take in more air. And if you do feel that, then you've held the breath for too long. So you can play around with this, but this is a really great test to work on, especially if you're someone who likes to challenge yourself a little bit. This could be great. So you can really see the BOLT score going up. But yeah, you might not be that type of person. But ideally, you would do it first thing in the morning every time. And as you continue with your breath practice, you can really see how it goes up. And equally, if this isn't for you, you're not into testing yourself on anything, then you can just try it with me now and decide if you want to take it in, if you want to do it or if you don't want to do it. So we're going to be holding that breath hold, monitoring that breath hold time. So preparing your stopwatch now, we're going to take just a few natural breaths in and out through the nose. Just gently, just normally, without making any changes, just taking a few breaths here. And just as you do, engaging some of that breath awareness that we've tried. Just a few normal breaths here, just so that we can really take a good breath hold. So let's take a normal breath in, a normal breath out, pinch your nose and start the stopwatch. So keep pinching the nose, obviously I need to talk, and just softening into this hold. So remember, you're not pushing for a long hold. This is not a test of willpower or of anything. Just really noticing when you feel that clear sign of discomfort, such as an involuntary contraction of the diaphragm, a slight air hunger, a need to take in a breath, or the need to swallow, or anything like that. Once you reach that point, then you stop the timer. So you release the nose and stop the timer and resume natural breathing. So just noticing what this is. Keep going if you're still feeling good about it. And the time that you record is your BOLT score. So this is a score where you're not gasping when you inhale again. You don't need to take these big recovery breaths. But if you do feel that, you may have held too long and you might want to wait a few minutes and try again. So now hopefully you've got your score. You've got your score. If not, you can pause and then wait until you get there. So if you have 10 seconds or under, it's very likely that there's some dysfunctional breathing going on. It's likely there's a low CO2 tolerance, possible chronic overbreathing, which is probably linked to anxiety, fatigue, poor oxygen delivery, generally not feeling a little bit out of sorts. 10 to 20 seconds, there's likely going to be a little bit of breathing dysfunction, mild CO2 tolerance, and the oxygen delivery is probably not as effective as it could be. And then if you're in that 20 to 30 second camp, most likely there's some good functional breathing going on. You probably have like moderate CO2 tolerance, you've got better oxygen delivery. And then finally, if you're in that 30 to 40-second bracket, it usually means really good breathing efficiency, strong CO2 tolerance, really good oxygen optimization. So yeah, so if your score was 10 or 20, then don't panic. You know, this is why we're here, right? This is why we're here. You know, you can use a score if you want as a way to mark your progress with this kind of breathing. So if it's 10, if it's under 10, yeah, you've got a little bit of a way to go, but don't see it as, you know, this terrible thing. What's amazing about the breath is that we can really work with it. It's essentially free once you start going by yourself, and you can work on it anytime, and you can build up with it. So it's not an all is lost situation. It's a, okay, great, how can I challenge myself to work this up to be more optimum level. So I hope that all made sense. If any of it didn't, then of course you can reach out to me, or you know, you can pause and rewind and kind of let it land again. But yeah, this is just quite a cool way of monitoring that CO2 tolerance without getting any machinery or anything like that. So thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you in the next video.